Okay, so they confirmed that we're going to be getting Nanami and also Sukuna tomorrow and a Maki rerun. Now, basically, my video today is basically just to say how many cubes we're going to get, and also at the same time, telling you that you should probably just skip Sukuna and maybe C for Nanami, right? I think Nanami is an interesting case now, especially for global, knowing how power creep's going to be, knowing that Choso is going to come, knowing that Culling Games is much sooner than we thought, which also means Shibuya is probably going to get most of its hype units much sooner. So we're going to get through all that just real quick. We are going to be getting basically a story event, and this Nanami story event is going to bring the Reminiscence story, which is very important to keep in mind, because that's like an extra 900-ish cubes here. You get about 900 for every story rerun that you do, and every new story event brings another key that you could get, but they're going to give you one right away. So you should basically essentially be getting 2 of these, so that's another 1800. But yeah, so we got story event, which in total with this, it's going to be 4,000 plus an extra like 1,000 about. So in total with the story event plus the 2 reminiscence keys, that's 5,000, then a 3,000 cube gift, so 8,000, then the map event, so about basically 11,000. And then if we go here, there's the beginner intermediate mission revamp, which is going to give another 3,000 total, because I'm pretty sure it's 130 per day. Then there's one day with 1,500 and a GSSR ticket. So yeah, that puts you at about 14,000 cubes. Now, the SP buffs are also coming, which means that my one of the points I'm making for Sukuna's skip is very important. So Sukuna is like overall a very good unit. He's still amazing. Just want to make sure that's clear, right? Need to make sure that's clear. The biggest problem is that, well, guess what? He is almost a year old, right? And with that, that means that we are bound for a lot of power creep. And with second anniversary or first anniversary on global, I do think there is merit into actually skipping the GOAT himself. Now, like, we'll talk about this more in depth, so let's get into this so I can make my points very clear, because I have a lot of information I want to bring. So first of all, blue, if we check it out, is the only color in the game without a multiplier, right? Yellow has the stat multiplier, the stat debuff multiplier, and the damage multiplier. Green has the stat buff, stat debuff, damage multiplier. Red has the stat buff, stat debuff, damage multiplier. Blue has the damage buff, or sorry, the damage multiplier, the stat debuff multiplier, but not the stat buff multiplier from a buffer. So what this means is basically blue is basically handicapped right now. Everyone in blue is, to where they are doing much less than they very well could be if we would consider a stat buffer, especially someone like free-to-play Jogo, which is crazy to think about. I do think with a stat buffer, if it's like a Teen Choco tier, has the chance to genuinely beat floor 79, right? And this is one thing that I think we need to very much make clear, is that Kamo and Jogo right now are both very good options that you could both use, and with Kamo getting his SP buff, that makes it even more clear that Kamo Jogo are going to be very good to do pretty much everything you need to. And if you bring a stat buffer into this equation, then it's made even better, right? So because of this, if you look at this graph, then whenever a stat buffer comes, you're going to be able to then use so many more units more efficiently, especially Jogo. I think he has maybe 30% Jujutsu, right? Maybe a bit more if you get lucky. But if you have a stat buffer, someone on like a Nanami Teen Choco tier, just imagine how crazy it could be. And then Kamo is also really good. Give him more stat buffs and just more damage in general. Just imagine, right? Because right now people are using Red Yaga, right? So imagine if we upgrade from Red Yaga, who you have to get perfect RNG for, into then like a blue, like a good, very good blue stat buffer. So that's kind of the thoughts right now, that basically the slots they've been filling out have all been the good units. So like we were missing a green buffer, Teen Choco. We were missing a green damage debuffer, Choso. We were missing a red damage buffer, Nanami. So I definitely think that there's a lot of possibilities for this moving forward. Obviously, maybe it's possible that we don't get a stat buffer, that's for sure. However, I do think that still it would be a bit difficult for me to recommend you getting Sukuna on a rerun. And this is specifically talking to people who don't have him, right? If you don't have him as like a long-term player still, then I think you're better off still not getting him. And for new players, I think a very small portion of you guys should go for him. Also because, you know, Jogo and Kamo now are much able, like they're able to make up for most of what the others can't do in the earlier floors, and then you're fine. Now, this is another thing. Sukuna right now isn't needed for anything besides 79. And if you're not even close to 79 in the first place, you can just survive off of Jogo and Kamo, and you would probably find more value out of getting the stat buffer, also because the stat buffer would help you for taijutsu, which long term is going to be very fucking good. Okay, so for me personally, I do think that, you know, Sukuna right now is probably like number 3 DPS, and the main reason is because he's missing a multiplier, right? But if we do get that extra multiplier of the buffs, right, because of course it's multiplicative, then the other blue DPSs that are really good, and Kamo's going up, just teaser, Kamo's going up, and then Jogo. These two are going to be able to do much better and excel a lot more. And for all we know, we get, I don't know, 0.2 domain Gojo, or we get some crazy blue DPS that's going to be like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have gotten Sukuna, maybe I should have gotten Y unit, right? So that's another thing, right? Getting Sukuna is also going to hinder you from getting the second anniversary units. And when we get literally 1/5 of a pity in one update, I think personally it's worth to really save that towards second anniversary. Personally, I'm going to make an updated kind of value chart very soon with all my thoughts for global, so that's gonna be something important. But yeah, I really do think that because listen, the only floor that you need Sukuna for is 79. 64, 66, 70 and 74 do not really need Sukuna, right? And if you add a stat buffer, then 70 is fucking piss easy with Jogo, right? And I'm assuming it's about Teen Choco level, so keep that in mind, right? If I'm wrong, then hey, there is that, but at the same time, there's probably going to be a new blue DPS soon, be it Taijutsu or Jujutsu, because like, look, Naobito was not what we needed, right? Just to make sure that's clear, Naobito did not end up being what we needed. We definitely aren't due for another one, so listen. Maybe you like Sukuna, but this is my last point that I want to make. If you just want Sukuna, why not wait for Fuga's Sukuna, who is a more updated unit, right? If you're getting Sukuna purely because it's Sukuna, I think you're better off waiting in that instance too, because of the fact that Fuga's Sukuna, well, is going to be a lot better, right? It's just how it's going to be. Power creep has advanced to the point where you have someone like Honored One and Choso together being stronger than Sukuna. And yes, Sukuna is going to be very good now and in the future. However, I still believe, right, unless like floor 81 to 100 has some very precise things, that you're better off probably not getting them for many reasons. Number one, you don't have the cubes right now, so there's no point in doing your multis anyway. That's another big point. But for the people that do, right, Sukuna is great. I want to make sure that's clear. But if you're not like a spender, especially because obviously my videos are more catered to free to place to very minimal spenders, you're not going to find as much value as you think, because Sukuna really isn't needed. Now you might say like, oh, but by the way, Sukuna is type advantage in the earlier floors. Yeah, but at this point in the game, right, with all the SP buffs and all that good stuff, like so many different units work now. And I feel like if you're a new player, just wait to build your account, right? You don't need to really rush it. And at the same time, for new players, like especially if you started like green setup, red, I mean, maybe if you got Domain Gojo, it's probably set up, right? There's a lot of good standard units, and we got those free pulls for anniversary and all that good stuff, so I could definitely see you guys doing more than fine, right? More than fine. And it's funny, but I feel like Dagon might be good for like early yellow floors. I mean, yellow must be coming, like Dagon must be coming soon for yellow. Like for new players, that might be pretty good. But like overall, especially with the SP buffs, and yes, I know early on it might be difficult to kind of build up with the SP buffs. You're going to get there at some point. And when you get there, like you're going to be able to be kind of solid in this game, right? I think Sukuna is going to be kind of like, he's basically someone that if you get now, he's going to help you early on. But long term, I think you're going to kind of suffer a bit more than if you just invested into Jogo, invested into Kamo, invested into Blue Yuji, and then afterwards you're able to kind of just build, I don't know if it's a fucking Blue Shoko, right? Utahime, Urarame, I don't know. I don't know who they could do. Kusakabe. Maybe a Kusakabe, but I think a Kusakabe could make sense. I'm just not sure if they'll do that for a stat buffer, but if they do, blue is safe, right? If the stat buffer is something like Nanami and it's like a sub DPS, then oh my god, that would be so good. Like blue getting a stat buffer like Nanami as a sub DPS would be crazy, right? So basically, what I'm saying, it does hinge on the fact that we do get a stat buffer, but there's also the fact that this ends on the 25th. So the 25th, keep that in mind. There's a very interesting thing about that. Where is it? Here. We have a stream. We have a live stream on the 23rd. So because of that, the 23rd, that does mean this is early morning for us. I think that's 7 a.m. What day is the 23rd? Let me check what day the 23rd is. It's a Tuesday. Is that good for me? Yeah, that's good for me. Okay. So yeah, basically this is gonna be very good. You're gonna be able to see about a day or two before, like if it's a blue unit that we get, because this should reveal a unit. And also, very important, we're at the point now where Sukuna is probably going to have less value because this is going to bring a second floor of SP buffs, right? Which means that more units are going to get their SP buffs, right? So if we go to blue, like what happens if someone like Megumi gets a second SP buff, or Gojo gets a second SP, or gets a first SP buff, right? If they give SP buffs like this, just shit them out to some of the earlier units, then yes, Sukuna is kind of on his last limb to being valuable. Not being good, just being valuable, right? There's a difference between value and being good, because being valuable requires you to kind of be needed when nothing else works. However, blue now has many options. Kamo is fucking insane. So I really think you're better off not summoning on Sukuna, right, and being good there. Now, in terms of Nanami, right, I do think he is very good, right? I do think he's very good, but I think we're getting to the point where maybe you don't need him if you're like not really close to finishing tower. Now, if you're very much stuck only because of red floors, definitely get him, but we're due for a red Jujutsu or Taijutsu DPS, more like Jujutsu, right? I think we're more due for a Jujutsu DPS, but I think we could get Taijutsu. The only thing is, if they give red Yuji an SP buff immediately, they're cooking, right? You don't even need a Taijutsu DPS moving forward. So personally, I really do think that, you know, second Annie, also because Megumi, his last color we need is red, and we probably are getting a Maharaga, I really do think we could get a red Megumi. And I don't think Nanami is necessarily needed for free-to-plays if you're not really at that point in tower where you're lacking only red, right? That's the thing. Because green, you should be set. Yellow, if you have Shoko, you're set. Blue, with Kamo and Joko now, you should be able to at least pass floor 74. So it's very much just like red and blue could be your two biggest problems if you don't have Nanami, of course. So I think getting Nanami isn't a bad idea, but I personally think long term, if you don't really give a fuck about Nanami, like the better option is just save for all the cool Shibuya units. That's my thoughts, right? Like you're gonna get like more short-term value, and Nanami is gonna stay good. The problem is like he isn't always gonna be necessary. And I think that if we just get some fucking broken ass Jujutsu DPS, you're gonna clear anyway, right? Like I'm just saying. And also because you don't need Choso, like y'all are set up to really be able to save for the second Annie, and I think that's great. Or first Annie on global, right? Like there's so many things we could get, and I just finished reading the manga. Like I finished volume 30, and just seeing everything and kind of getting a better perspective on things. Well, listen, they could definitely spam Shibuya units, because once Calling Games comes out, there are so many different units they could do out of that. Like they could deadass do a full year or two of just Calling Games releases, which is like wild to think about. So I really do think that, you know, we're in a good spot to where you don't really need to summon much right now. Like I think right now it's building up your account, getting your SP buffs, right, doing all that good stuff, clearing sweep, and getting ready for that second sweep floor that's going to be announced probably a bit before this. I don't know, this doesn't seem like mid September, so before this we should get probably an announcement for SP buffs, and then they're probably going to go more in depth into this. I'm not too sure how that's going to go. I'm not, but right now I think that there's a lot of things going against Sukuna, more like a lot of good SP buffs coming out, a lot of good, more free to play options, and the fact that we're probably around the corner from a stat buffer, because like, you know, it's kind of like the one thing most people are saying we need, when it really is the only thing we are severely lacking. Yes, we're lacking a yellow damage buffer, yes, we're lacking a blue damage debuffer, but right now the one thing that we're severely lacking for a whole multiplier missing is a blue stat buffer that if we get, we're in a very good spot. So that's going to be it. Let me know what you think. Are you summoning for Sukuna? If so, why? Let me know down below. See you in the next one. Good ciao.